most highly anticipated game of the weekend, the game between Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan is looking to win its third straight after some down years for sure. For what it's worth, Michigan leads the all-time series 60-51 with 6 ties in there. I'm sure there's some like disputed results in games that were played in like the 1900s. Largest victory, 86-0 Michigan in 1902. Michigan here, 3.5-point favorite. You've seen times it's certain books it's ticked down to 3. Get some buyback there. I'm having some trouble with this game. I mean, from a numbers perspective, I think this is a little short. I think a lot of people are overreacting. I mean, I was on Maryland last week, and it was a terrible spot for Michigan in between Penn State and Ohio State. And then, you know, I mean, look at Ohio State against Maryland. It was pretty much, I mean, they, for a whole half, it was just, they were in jeopardy of losing that game, even with a pick 6 until, you know, some, a little run in the second half, which Ohio State has done a number of times this year. They just have these like stretches in the second half where they somehow cover these big numbers. So hopefully you haven't been betting against, you're listening, Ohio State every week, because most weeks they probably don't deserve to cover these numbers, and then they're finding a way to do so.
Yep.
So when I look at Michigan, Harbaugh won't be on the sidelines for this game. And under Sherrone Moore, they're like Harbaugh on steroids. Like, they're so conservative and they run so much. But part of that is because of the offensive line. I've talked about this. This is one of the parts of the handicap of the Penn State game. Their tackles are a problem, and they just couldn't drop McCarthy back, and then eventually they didn't even have the pass in the second half, had to roll them out. Even, you know, Henderson was hurt, the Arizona State transfer. He's been bad. Like, just the tackles have been bad. They can't pass protect. And then their offensive line in general is just a step below where it was last year, which means their run game hasn't been as good. So, you know, and this Ohio State defense is real. Jim Knowles, a worthy Royals Award candidate. He's won the award in the past.
Good thing he's not in the group of 5.
Yeah. I joke that a group of 5 coaches never won it. I mean, give me some Willie Korn. Give me some Brendan Marion. Some Bill Brecken, Miami, Ohio. I mean, there's some names. Come on, at least put their names in there, even if you're not going to pick them. But anyway, I digress. So I think that the Michigan offense, it's not going to have much success here, and they're going to go super conservative, as we've seen. But I also don't trust the Ohio State offense. I don't trust Kyle McCord against a really good Michigan defense. Although we saw some cracks last week with, you know, some of the corners who haven't really faced, you know, many competent passing attacks all year until they faced Maryland last week. But the Ohio State offensive line also has some issues. So when I look at this game, you know, I think there's a little bit of a market overreaction to the result last week. I mean, look, both these teams don't great data points. Maryland, pretty much the same. And, you know, Michigan, Penn State, I would probably favor Michigan a little bit. Penn State actually started to throw the ball before that game, and that was on the road. Ohio State played Maryland and Penn State at home. So I don't know. And this look-ahead line was higher than this. I think it's a little bit of reaction, but you have the sign stealing angle and Harbaugh not on the sidelines, which have to be factors. So when I look at this game, I show a little bit of line value in Michigan, but I just can't, you know, I'm assuming they're going to have a really good game plan to take Harrison now and not let Harrison beat them. And, you know, I think both teams are going to come out really conservative. This is a huge game. Winner goes to the College Football Playoff. Yes, I mean disrespect to Iowa. So I think that there's going to be a feeling out process. Let's not make a mistake early. We know our defenses are what, you know, we want to rely on here. So I think like 4th and 1 at midfield. I don't see in the first half. One of these teams gets a little ahead. You know, you do have some explosive receivers. You do have questionable offensive lines with great pass rush. You could see some mistakes when either one of these teams tries to open it up. So I'm liking the first half under here, under 23. I just can't see either one of these teams having much success. And I think both are going to be super conservative early on. Ton of athletes on the field. I could see it opening up. I could see once it opens up, like I said, some turnovers happening. So I haven't locked in a bet yet, but I'm feeling a first half under here. I know that you put in Ohio State before you get to that case. Any thoughts on the first half under?
No, I agree. These games like this always turn into a 3 or 4 series of them feeling each other out to see what the other one has. And then this same thing happened in the game last year. And then Jim Knowles started line up in cover 0 and Michigan started throwing over their head. So like things really got amped up in the middle of the second quarter there. So for the first quarter, I think you're going to get the same thing. You're just going to get, and that's all that Michigan is right now.
Yeah, you could get like a 9-minute Michigan field goal drive to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, my handicap is I by the way, I think it's the first time I bet Ohio State this entire season. But you have to ask yourself, what's happened to JJ McCarthy since Sherrone Moore took over? 19 of 31 passing in the last 2 weeks, no TDs and interception. He had 4 turnover-worthy throws against Maryland. What is going on with JJ McCarthy? Like Heisman leaderboard, gone, completely gone. Now, I get it from Sherrone Moore's standpoint of I'm running Blake Corum straight at Penn State's defense. They can't stop it, so I'm just going to do that. I get it. That works, right? You're not there for style points and to get JJ McCarthy the Heisman. You're there to win games. So that works. But Michigan still has a major explosiveness problem. 114th in rush EPA, 66th in pass EPA. Not a ton of explosives from this group whatsoever. Maryland had 6 passes more than Michigan of 15 yards. They had way more explosives through the air than Michigan did. Blake Corum's carrying the entire offense right now. He splits carries between inside zone, man blocking concepts, but still no explosives. He had 0 20 yards runs against the Maryland D. So when you go to the other side, I think that's where the handicap comes in, because whether it's the offensive line being banged up, Harbaugh not being there, inefficiency with McCarthy, or maybe Moore never wanted this to be a passing offense in the first place. I mean, that's not really his background. So I don't know what's going on with the offense, but it's become prehistoric. Ohio State, on the other hand, McCord to Harrison connection is about the only thing that works with this group right now. We can, talk about other parts of it, but to me, this is, can Michigan stop what Marvin Harrison does? Now, to do that, you need to go into Marvin Harrison Jr.'s route tree. He is the best route runner in college football. He's going to be the best route runner, just like his dad, in the NFL. So you have to ask yourself, is Harrison's route tree going to be able to take advantage of Michigan? Well, Harrison runs hitches and crossers. So if you're not familiar, I mean, cross pretty easy, but if you're not familiar with a hitch, he's going to run up the field, come to a complete stop, turn around, and take 2 steps up forward towards McCord. That has been the bread and butter of McCord to Harrison the entire year. Michigan allows an extreme number of explosives to people running the hitch. Now, that's just other people running hitch. That's not Marvin Harrison running hitch. So I believe the best of Ohio State's offense, which is that route by Marvin Harrison Jr., has been really hard for Michigan to defend this year. And I think that's going to play out here no matter what coverage they're in. No explosives from McCarthy. Ohio State's run defense dominates inside zone. McCord is actually really good against cover 3, which is all Michigan has run this year. Put the bet in on Ohio State. Let's go. And there has been buyback off that 3. That 3 came down at some of the sharp shops as you and I are recording and came back to 3.5. I agree with you. I make the number 4, but I don't think there's a way for Michigan to stop Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think Ohio State purposely kept the ball out of his hands last week to keep him off film about what they want to do. But that's what's going to happen. Crossers and hitch.
Yeah, can't wait to watch that one. I think it'll be super slow start, so hopefully we can avoid any mistakes. But McCarthy, yeah, he's dropped off because part of it's the protection. We talked about this. They haven't really played anybody, and then they didn't let him throw dropping back against Penn State after they were getting just crushed on the offensive line early. Go back to last year. McCarthy's numbers under pressure were horrendous, and now he doesn't have tackles. Ohio State has good edge rushers. So I don't think that Michigan's going to have much success dropping McCarthy back. They're going to have to rely on their run game, be methodical, be conservative, which is how I think this game starts out.